Hey, and welcome to the Nobody's Famous podcast.
What do we think about the celebrities that argue that they don't have privacy anymore?
The funny part is I didn't even know the show's name until we got inside.
Great, thanks for following. Stick around and join us on our journey to explore the wonderful stories of people you've never heard of. All right, everybody, we are back on the Nobody's Famous podcast. We are back with a very special guest with us today, Farah Massoud. It's a very big pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for being with us. So, Farah, you are an English teacher teaching grades 8, 9, and 10, and already sounds like a mouthful and a very difficult job. So just to bring it to the pandemic or the current situation, you've been doing some e-learning classes online, and what has that experience been like?
It was really tough and challenging at the beginning, I have to be honest. Especially that it happened really fast. We weren't expecting it. We weren't prepared. Being behind a screen made me a bit anxious at the beginning because I wasn't used to it. It was out of my comfort zone. Also, another challenge I faced at the beginning was creating the assignments. That was very time consuming for us because we had to prepare everything from scratch for the students without complicating it for them or for ourselves. So these were the first challenges I faced in distance learning at the beginning. And with regards to feedback, giving students feedback and marking, to be honest, I found it easier to do it electronically than written, for sure.
Okay, that's good. I mean, did you feel that your relationship with the students actually grew because of this? Like, they are more conscious that, you know, they have to be more attentive in
yes,
you know.
Yes, it did. And the fact that I believe, because I do talk to my students, you know, not necessarily always about work or assignments, and they really, I feel like we appreciate each other's existence around each other more now.
Do you think that possibly in the future that e-learning could replace, for example, a school could be fully digital? Do you think that's possible?
To be honest, I mean, e-learning is not really a very new concept that's being used in education. It's been there for several years. At the moment, I believe that e-learning is a solution to reduce redundancy in some way. And I believe it's the pilot phase for e-learning in schools. And I can't really tell you from now, it's too soon. It's been only 2 months, but I can tell you one thing is that we are collecting data for sure from students and from parents. And the schools are actually collecting data from us to see the teacher feedback. And I believe based on all the feedback they're getting, this is how we or they will decide to move forward with it in the future.
I want to move the conversation around a little bit to kind of touch on special needs kids. What are teachers doing to, for example, to accommodate?
In general, working with students with special needs is double the challenge. So normally what we do is, obviously every school has a special needs department. We call it the SEN department. So you have specialized teachers that enter the classroom. They can work with the child in the classroom, or they pull out the child, work with them one-on-one using different strategies. What we are doing during distance learning is something a bit similar, but obviously behind the screen. So in our sessions, in our live sessions, we do have the SEN teacher joining the session in case the child needs assistance or something is not clear. Also, we do always advise and recommend that a parent or a sibling or a caretaker is also sitting with the child on the other end of the screen. And to be very honest, Ali, I have to say this, I really want to give a huge, huge shout out to all the parents and teachers that are dealing with special needs students, really. So
it's definitely bigger than what it already was. Okay, I wanna ask you a few questions from some of the stories that we put up on our account, and then a final personal question to you, and then we'll be done actually. So a bit of the questions from the stories. So we actually did like polls, and I want to see if you agree with some of these. So we'll see if you do. So we had a question: are students even benefiting from in-person classes online? 74% said yes, they are, and 26% said no.
What do you think?
Well, I think we discussed it already. I think that they're definitely benefiting because they are learning how to interact in a new world. I think that's what makes sense the most to me. Yeah, you can learn, you're going to have to learn algebra, you're going to have to learn social studies, history, science, all these types of things. You're going to learn it either way. But I think they are becoming more mature in the fact that they are understanding that there is something like this happening outside in the world. And they realize that, okay, I have to adapt as an individual, adapt and change. And they're no longer in their comfort zone, so to speak. Well, comfort zone is their home, but I mean in terms of comfort zone of interacting with people in a very different way. So I think they're benefiting from that aspect, definitely.
Absolutely. I do agree 100% with what you said. And honestly, I also believe that we are very lucky for the technology and the innovation that we have that has been offered to them immediately. You know, can you imagine not having all that much advanced technology? Where would we be? I honestly ask myself that every day. If we didn't have all of this, you know, the school year would end. The students would literally stop where they are, and that's it. So I think they are benefiting a lot, like you said. And from my own experience with my students, from what I'm seeing and the results they are giving me, they are really working hard as though they are in the classroom. They're still motivated by words, and they still want teacher praise, and they still want to give the best work that they can, you know. And I see it honestly with my students a lot. Like, so far so good, thank God, honestly. And also we always try to give extra support online for students. We actually do have optional classes. We do optional classes where we are online for an hour. So if we have students that are struggling with a certain topic, or if they have specific concerns they'd like to share, or topics they want to discuss, so they can just show up online and discuss it with the teacher, you know? So I believe, no, they are benefiting a lot from online classes. I do agree that.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point you raise. I mean, for me, I'm the first to say, like, I'm a geek, so technology is definitely my you know, friend daily. And I think that if we were back 100 years ago and the Spanish flu exactly 100 years ago, I mean, those students had suffered a lot in terms of getting their education, because definitely they can't go anywhere. So that would have been the issue that they would have faced.
Definitely.
So, okay, I just move on to the next question. So this was a 50-50% split between yes and no. And, and the question was, should a pass, fail, or credit, no credit be mandatory during this time? It's interesting that we got a 50-50% on this one. Some people said yes. I mean, half said yes, half said no.
Said no. Well, to be honest, me as a teacher, definitely they deserve to get credit and praise for the work they turn in on daily basis and their performance, and definitely. But what we are doing, what our team is doing, is we are 100% removing and taking their mind off the grading system. We don't talk about grades. We don't talk about pass or fail, because our main objective here is to keep them engaged in learning. It's already tough enough to, you need to know something with teaching. There needs to come entertainment. If they don't enjoy the lesson, they will not listen to a single word you are saying. So our main objective really as teachers, and what we're working as an entity in the school, is to literally not focus on any pass or fail. Just give them credit and keep motivating them to move forward with their work. So it's just keeping them engaged. So I would say, in my opinion, that shouldn't be main criteria right now.
Okay, so yeah. So then you're on the no side for that one, definitely. So
yeah.
So our 50-50% split has now been skewed to the no side, which is great. Okay, one more, and this is about workload, which I think we also didn't discuss in detail. So 83% said no, and 17% said yes to the question, should teachers increase the workload since students are studying from home?
Should your boss increase the workload if you're working from home?
Well, you see, that's the thing. I think with us, you know, from the adults, so versus the teenagers, adolescents, and the young kids. I think for us, there really isn't that kind of question that is asked. It depends on your job. So if you're an essential worker, or you are someone who's on the front lines, naturally, without your boss or no boss, your workload has increased. If you're somebody who's non-essential, or working in, for example, in luxury, that is very different. That is very because you will definitely be in that place where you're not essential, and your workload either has not increased, or there is compensation to increase it further on you because you're not essential. So that's kind of I think probably the two spectrums. But if you were to ask me this, maybe as a teacher or as a student, I would say is to, again, going back to what you answered in the previous question, is to maintain the engagement level first before saying, okay, let me increase maybe the workload, because I think you need to increase both at the same time. So if you increase the engagement level, then probably you can maybe add a few more workload to the student. But I wouldn't increase the workload with keeping the engagement level the same.
Absolutely. You also need to keep in mind, Ali, that these students, I mean, I'm a subject teacher, right? I'm teaching them one subject, but they are learning several subjects. So they have several assignments. So to me, as a teacher, I do not like overwhelming my students, because I really want them to learn something out of what I'm giving them. So stacking up piles of assignments where they can easily use the internet to copy paste answers now, because they're no longer in the classroom and they have easy access to the internet all the time. So that to me is not learning. They're not really learning anything when they go and copy paste answers into a sheet and then just turn it in, you know? So to me, I always like to keep in mind that these students are having several assignments per day. And to me, sometimes I really keep my assignments simple sometimes, you know, where I just post a question where I allow them to discuss it in a thread back and forth, giving different opinions and what they think the answer could be. And that to me is more engaging, and it teaches them something rather than just literally showering them with assignments. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's just the communication and the engagement. This is how they learn. And it's not how much you give them. It's really how much they give you, actually. So we are always asked to be like standby in the classroom, you know? We throw something in for them, but they need to come with the product. So this is how we're focusing. Yeah,
they definitely have to. The more you give them, I think the more you'll get out from them as well. Final question, and this was from our followers. I think we may have touched on this, but maybe take a crack at it if you want to say what is the one thing. So in what ways has distance learning been more effective than in-person teaching? So maybe you could say maybe we could adjust it and say, what is the one thing? And this question came from our followers at End Small Talk. Check those guys out. We had them also on episode 19. So yeah, what do you think?
Will do. To be honest, for me, I believe that they learned quite a few things, but what I would focus on is independency for sure. They definitely learned how to be more independent. They don't have the physical aspect of a teacher around them all the time. So they have to count on themselves sometimes to get the work done and do the best that they can. And they did actually learn a few things on their own, and they're confident now with a lot of things that are related to learning purposes on the internet, whether it's PowerPoint or Word or Google Docs or Google Slides. So it all goes back to the main point, which is independency, right? And the fact that they had access to all of that learning on the internet actually prepares them, like we said earlier, it prepares them to for the future, for a working life, for a career. And the fact that they're also, they have more flexibility at home as well. You know, they're in their comfort zone, so they can produce the best work possible if they want to. So again, it goes back to being independent and counting on themselves.
I think that's a great answer, Farah. I think that's a really great answer. And if I were to say to all teachers out there and parents, look at the bright side. These, your kids are now prepared for the worst. They are prepared for a situation that, unlike any other, for their future. And I think they are becoming more mature at an accelerated rate. I see this is the thing. They're getting more mature at an accelerated rate than they ever would if they were in normal situations. So I think, as apart from all the negative things that have been happening, I think this is a very strong positive, and definitely the seeds that have been sown will be reaped very, very, very soon. With because their minds are always just working.
Of course.
A final question for you, and it's more about you. How are you coping during this pandemic personally?
To be honest, I'm used to it. I definitely adapted to it. I never thought I would. It was really tough at the beginning, like really tough in terms of being so active and going to work, hitting the gym, having your alone time, to absolutely nothing, just being at home and doing everything from home. But actually right now when I wake up in the morning, I just go like, all right, another day in paradise, like it really doesn't bother me anymore. It doesn't bother me at all. How about you?
Well, for me, I think the listeners might be bored from me saying it, but I think for me it's been quite an experience. It's been an up and down experience for me, at least. There are days where I'm super motivated to do things, and there are days where I'm not. And I always, that's just who I am. I compare to things that I might see online. I should be doing better. I start to push myself, and when you're not around interactions with people, you can't really get that, for example, interaction or the safe zone that you need. But on the good side is, it's finally given me the chance to learn a few things that I always felt intimidated by, and I never took the chance to learn. And I've been able to use this time also to kind of work on myself when it comes to voiceover as well, which is something that I really wanted to do. So just been bombarding people with, voiceovers of myself. So I think it's definitely an up and down phase, and I think that's okay. I think everybody is dealing with the situation in their own way, and I don't think this is only just for a pandemic. I mean, even in normal times, people experience the same thing. They experience challenges the same way. And with that, Farah, I want to say that it has been a great episode, a lot of insight and a lot of advice and great stuff from the unsung hero.
Really.
No, the pleasure has been all mine, and I'll sign us off now. It has been the Nobody's Famous podcast with Farah Massoud, an amazing guest. You can find us on SoundCloud, Stitcher, Anghami, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and you can watch us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and give us a like. It's been the Nobody's Famous podcast, signing off.